Alrighty guys, welcome back. I've been excited for this one. So I've had this, I kind of pre-ordered it like last month. So I've been waiting probably about a month for these to come in, but I got some new Tomica limited vintage in. And I ordered these from Tokyo Station. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of them. They're from Canada. They usually have pretty good prices on stuff like this. So this is one that I got. This is the Nissan Silvia K's Aero in blue. Then I also got this Skyline set, which I will be reviewing soon as well. The 25 GTT. It's got like some different like panels and stuff you can swap out. Very cool, pretty unique. And then obviously the one that we're looking at today, I got the new F40. So this is the 1989 version. I'm not sure what the previous version was. I'm assuming it was just like another year, slightly different spec. But yeah, this is my first Ferrari from Tomica. It came out. I almost passed on it. I was just gonna wait for the BBRs, but I figured, you know what, these Ferraris that Tomica does are pretty legendary, especially the F40s, especially with how expensive the old releases are. So I was like, you know what? It's really not that expensive. Let me grab it. Yeah, if you guys are interested in getting this, I believe Tokyo Station still has some, or I've seen these for sale from a ton of different stores, pretty much worldwide. So, yeah, let's get into it. Sorry, I had to pause to sneeze, but yeah, let's get into it. So, Tomica Limited Vintage Neo F40. 1989. Really cool boxes on these. People kept telling me like the boxes for these Ferraris and kind of all the ones that they do in these square styles are really nice, and they have been right. The box is phenomenal. So this outer lid is super thick, like very thick square box. It's very sturdy. It feels very premium. And then of course it's got like the chrome accenting and stuff. So very cool. I don't know what actual number this Tomica is. I haven't really seen that anywhere, but it's got all this stuff right there. And then here is the inside of the box. So there's this card that comes out. So I guess it's got some more information right there. I might Google Translate that and read it later, but it's pretty cool. And then inside is the car. Here's all the information on the back. Officially licensed by Ferrari, of course. They get their license through Maisto and Barago. Same as like BBR and whatnot. So very cool. But yeah, it just says F40 1989. It doesn't really say anything else, at least not that I can read. There might be some more information in Japanese, but let's go ahead and get it taken out. I know this has opening parts. I have seen some photos of it, but I haven't really looked too closely. So we got this plastic tray that slides out, and then it kind of sits in there. It looks like it's got some like thin, that almost feels like wax, that paper. So I guess you can kind of pull the paper out and get the car. And I don't think there's anything else in here. I don't think there's any other extra parts or anything. Is there anything behind this? No, it is just this black thing. But yeah, I do like this little piece of, yeah, I don't know, it's like plasticky, but it's also kind of like rubbery. So there's that. I'm sure that does a pretty decent job at protecting the car. So let me get all this back in there, and then we can take a look at the car. Yeah, very nice packaging. I do like this. And here it is. So first impressions, I think it looks pretty good. There are a few things that I don't like though. But as far as stock F40, this is the first one in my collection. I do have a bunch of the tarmac works that they've done, but those are all based off of the race cars. And so they're not going to be completely stock like this one is. But yeah, it looks really good. And like I said, it's got the opening parts. So this front part comes open like that. It looks like there's a little bit of detail in there. It doesn't look like anything too crazy. Like I see some of the venting, some of those little air channels, and then it looks like there's a little bit of stuff down in there too. Some silver little details. And then that'll close back up. And then also the rear hatch opens up as well. I think it kind of lifts up like that. And then you've got some engine detail back here. So you can see the exhaust pipes going down to these little tips. And then like, I don't really know what all this stuff is. A couple little like radiators, I think. And then probably some valve covers up in there. I think I see a little bit of transmission detail. It is a little bit hard to see. But the engine looks like it's detailed fairly well. Nothing crazy, but it's also pretty decent. The wheels look pretty good on it. So Tomica, when I look at stock photos, Sometimes their wheels can be hit or miss. Sometimes they look really plasticky and just like not very well. Like the detail on the wheels just doesn't look very defined or detailed. But these actually look really good. And from what I can tell, these roll pretty good too. We'll do a quick roll test. Oh yeah, it rolls beautifully. That is really nice. That's actually one of the smoothest rolling models I've ever gotten. There is no bounce or wiggle at all. So yeah, rolls very nicely. The wheels are nicely detailed. The tires look good. I don't know if there's any brake details in there. The little gaps in between the spokes are so small that I just can't tell. I think there might be. Not exactly sure. But yeah, this rolls very well. Ferrari badge on the side looks pretty good. And then all the details, the pinstriping and whatnot, everything looks very, very well defined, very crisp. Here's the front view. Ferrari badge on the front again, that is printed on, which I do kind of prefer most of the time. And the headlights look very nice, very clear acrylic lenses. There's a little bit of black outlining going around. And then you got the blinkers with the orange, and then I believe like the high beams or the fog lights, whatever that silver one is. Obviously, this does have the pop-up headlights, and they are down. But yeah, it looks really good. And the front grille detail in there looks really nice as well. And then there's a little bit of a black lip going across the bottom too. And then a couple little vents right there. Interior does have some color to it. So it's got red seats, and then the dashboard is kind of like a gray color. And I do see a little bit of yellow on that steering wheel for that Ferrari logo too, which is very cool. I think that's about it, but like the inclusion of the red seats and a little bit, like it's not just black, it looks really good, and I like that kind of stuff. So there is that, and then here is the back view. Taillights look very good indeed. So you have the orange, it's kind of like an orangey yellow on the outsides, those are for the blinkers, and then there's a little silver dot in them, and I assume that's for the reverse lights, and then the red for the tail lights looks incredible too. The Ferrari lettering right there in silver is printed on, which honestly I kind of prefer a lot of the time. Then it's got a white license plate, and it is empty. I kind of wish that wasn't there, but overall it looks really good. Exhaust detail looks awesome too, and then there's a little bit more red paneling down underneath, kind of where like the air channels are. Wing looks really good. Not really too much to say about it. It's just the classic F40 wing. But this back window is very nice as well. It's got like these little louvers on it. Obviously there's not any gaps going through, but you can see the engine detail down under there very nicely. And then you have a fuel door on either side as well. Mirrors look good. There's a little bit of silver paint in them, it looks like. So yeah, it looks, when you just have it kind of like this from a silhouette, it looks really good. But like I said, there are a couple things I don't like. The panel gaps are pretty bad. And then on the roof right here, where the hinges are for this rear hatch, you have these big ugly holes, and then just massive gap right there on the roof. Other than that, the back part actually isn't bad. There is a pretty big gap right here where it comes down and meets with the like the fender part. So there's a pretty big gap there, and it does kind of wiggle a lot too, is another thing I'm noticing. Like it's in there pretty firmly, like it's not gonna come out or anything, but it wiggles a lot. It is not the best construction. And then the panel gaps are huge. And then same for the front. Even when it's closed, like the back part doesn't really wiggle around a whole lot when it's closed, but this front part does. I don't know if you can see that. That wiggles a lot. And there's nothing that keeps it down. So like when I'm holding it, like just kind of holding it by the front and the back, this front part just like naturally wiggles up. So like obviously not a big deal if you just have it set down and it's kind of static, or if you have, you kind of have it displayed like that with the stuff up. Obviously it looks really good, but it's definitely not the greatest model to handle unless you are, I don't know, I guess maybe it's fine, but yeah, I don't know. Panel gaps are really big. The panel gap in front of the windshield right here, let me get it actually down. The panel gap in front of the window isn't bad, but then just with how much this shakes around, the panel gaps just look horrid right here. And you can see there's a big gap there, and that could, there could be like a vent right there on the real car, so maybe not as big of a deal, but overall, it looks good. It's very cool. I think it's a cool product, but it's definitely definitely could be better, I feel like. And then another thing I kind of just noticed is when this front section is up, the little lip actually goes lower than the wheels, so the wheels come off the ground. So if you kind of put some pressure on the roof and try to lift this front hatch up, that's as far as it goes. So, and that's probably not a big deal, but it is, may as well point that out. I wish that the front hatch didn't open. I don't really see the point in that. There's not enough detail, especially on the real car. There's not enough detail there that I think it's worth it. And then obviously the back hatch, like I like that the back hatch opens and that there's nice detail in there, but the fact that you have these giant holes right there where the hinges are, it kind of makes me just wish this was a static model with no opening parts. So, I don't know. Like I said, it is cool. Do I think it's worth the money? If you really like Tomica, if you really like Ferrari, if you like the kind of heritage that these cars bring, then yes. But if you're just kind of a casual collector looking for an F40, please, 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 just wait for BBR to do theirs. It's not going to have opening parts, but it's also going to be a lot cheaper, and it's going to be a lot more solid, and yeah, just wait for the F40, or not the F40, the BBR version. So yeah, I'll probably do a comparison with the BBR when it comes out. I don't know that I'll do a comparison with the Tarmac Works, just because, I don't know, it's just such a different thing. But anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on it. It's definitely cool. I'm glad I have it. It is just, it's not the best model in terms of like quality, I guess. The panel gaps and the fact that they're so loose and floppy, and then these big hinge holes. Just like I said, this is part of the reason that I typically don't prefer opening parts. Motor Helix has been doing a really good job, so like it's a little different for them. But Tomica doesn't. From what I've seen, their panel gaps and hinge mechanisms just aren't the best. So I'd prefer static when it comes to Tomica. But anyways, I think that's really all I got to talk about. I will put a picture up of a 1989 F40 so you guys can kind of see. I definitely do think it's a nicely detailed model. I don't know that they're worth the price though. These are pretty expensive. I think I paid about $55 USD for this. For $55, that's 2 BBRs, But I don't know. I know a lot of people really do like the opening parts, and so I understand why that can be a big selling point. But when the opening parts are done poorly like this, to me, you're better off without them. But that's just my opinion. But there's a review of it. Now, if any of you guys were looking to purchase this, which I'm sure there was probably some of you that were, now you can decide for yourself. But anyways, it's felt good to do another Tomica. I think I've done one Tomica review before, so this is my second one. And I'm really excited. I've been buying a ton of Tomica. Like, I have Tomica coming out my ears now. They're all over the place. So I do enjoy them. I think they're really cool. I like the authentic vibe with them, because from what I understand, Tomica only makes cars that actually exist in Japan. So like the F40s, all these Skylines, these Porsches, these are real cars that exist in Japan that they've actually brought in to scan in person, I believe. So very authentic, and Tomica just has a cool vibe to it. Even though their models aren't always the best, there's just something like nice and special about them. Even with this F40, not the greatest quality, huge panel gaps, kind of ugly, but it's just very cool to have. So I'll leave you with that. Those are my final thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.